even getting to Strasbourg from Strasbourg as an Irish citizen is quite difficult. It's quite onerous. It's not a complaint. It's just the observation of the fact that you have to fill in so many forms. There's limited flight options. All of this is because of the COVID pandemic itself. So we first and foremost have to acknowledge that we are in a public health emergency. The basic measures that were put in place by countries over the last year plus were there to save lives, reduce the spread of the virus itself. But now we have come to a stage where, we see the rollout of vaccines across the continent. It is having a profound impact on the numbers of people who are contracting the disease, but also ending up in hospitals. In other words, there's a major COVID bonus now happening across the continent, and that's very welcome. Even in the context of Ireland itself, some of the largest hospitals have now reported that they have no COVID patients in their hospitals, and that is an indication that we really now are at the cusp of something that's exciting in terms of opening up our economies, getting people back to normal business, getting families connected, and making sure that business and commerce and trade can operate across the continent. And Sophie referenced a very important point. The first is that all countries and governments are obliged to try and protect their citizens in terms of the public health emergency that was there. But equally, there's another very important right, and that's the right to free movement, and the right to travel and to be able to move freely across the European Union. And that is an inalienable right that can't be just undermined very, very easily. And I do think that because of where we are, the public health measures, the vaccination program, the dropping number and in hospitals is an indication that we can now embrace the digital COVID certificate. And I was a proponent of this for a long time, so I always felt that there needed to be a harmonised approach across the continent. And the reason being, I witnessed myself firsthand at airports, the chaos that people were presenting documents. Very often they were printed off, no way of making sure they were genuine, how you could authenticate them. There was obviously forgeries, and you'd see people presenting screenshots at boarding gates, etc. So there was no uniform way of ensuring that any document that was presented was authentic. It either was a vaccine certificate, it was a recovery certificate, or it was a test certificate. And I do welcome what has been announced. From an Irish perspective, let's be very honest. The 19th of July is the day that we have decided that we're going to embrace that concept. And I hope, and I think this is very important, that it is for all citizens, not just people who want to come into the country, but that there is a quid pro quo, people wanting to travel from Ireland out as well. That we don't have any additional barriers for people wanting to leave or people coming in. That we treat every European citizen in a uniform, fair and equitable manner. So from that perspective, I sincerely hope that we can embrace the technology, number one, get it up and running, and that we can then enter into the spirit of it. In other words, that we treat all European citizens